The Rolex professional model catalog is large enough that if we decided to rank as much of it as we could on a single tier list of value retention, it would be unreadable on your screens. Instead, we're breaking up the list of models for which we do have data into two parts. This video will include the model families A through Gs, which also happen to be those associated with land and or air. The second part will cover the remaining model families S through Y, which are also all your model families associated with the water. Why this is an interesting view to build and talk about will hopefully come into clearer focus as we run through the list of watches, but of course it should come as no surprise that not only is Rolex one of the most desirable watch brands on the secondary market, it is specifically some of these sports watches, or what Rolex calls professional watches, that are among the most desirable references in the entire market. How they perform on the secondary market at least gives us a sense of what's relatively hyped in this space. As always, you can explore all this data and more for yourself at WatchCharts.com. And I always forget to mention, you can also download our app, available on both iOS and Android. The first thing to notice is that there are only three tiers. We usually have a fourth tier, C, that's usually for watches that lose more than 10% of their retail value on the secondary market. Every single watch we're looking at today and in part two fits inside just three tiers, and is just further evidence of how broad-based the interest is in these sports watches. That said, there are some clear winners that end up in the S category with value retentions above 50%, but everything else is going to sit at or above a minus 10% below retail. And we can start that list with the Air King reference 126900 that retails for $7,450 and has a current market price that's 19% above that retail price, around $8,900, which is good enough to land it in the A tier. The next two watches that I'm including here are the only watches in this view, or even in the next one, that are out of production, and we've included these purely for reference sake, and because the new Daytona references have not yet trickled out onto the secondary market in sufficient quantities for us to be able to publish a market price on them. And in fact, as far as I can tell, on most of the online major platforms, they're not even available for sale on the secondary market. And so the closest that we can get you in the interim in the Daytona family is with the 116500, here both with the white dial and the black dial. These both last retailed for $14,800 and have current market prices of $31,900 and $27,800. That's value retention of plus 116%. That puts it in the S tier, the white dial, and then the black dial is plus 88% over retail, and so that also ends up in the S tier. I mentioned at the start that these model families are all associated with land and or air, and so these certainly are your field watches, the Explorer family. So the first one is the Explorer 36, reference 124270. This trades 13% above retail, which is just good enough for A, but retails for $7,250. Its two-tone counterpart retails for $11,750 and is one of the rare Rolex sports watches that trades 9% below retail for a market price today of $10,700. The new for 2023 40mm reference 224270 has a retail price of $7,700, but currently trades at around $10,000, and so that's value retention today of plus 30%. But that has been on a downward trend since we've been able to start publishing a trend. And so in that sense, it is following the general trend that most of these watches seem to do, which is when they first show up on the market, there's a premium, and then that premium declines to settle at some level that is still above that watch's retail value, but is not as high as it first was when the watch appeared on the market. And so to round out the Explorer family, the Explorer 2 reference 226570 with the white dial and the black dial, these both retail for $9,650 and go for, the white dial goes for $11,700, which is 21% above retail, and the black dial goes for $11,000, which is 14% above retail, landing both of these in the A category as well. And so really the entire Explorer family, barring the two-tone version, sits in that A band. And that brings us to the GMT-Master II family. And the first one we'll look at is the VTNR, which is the Destro, which is the Sprite, which is the left-handed or left-sided crown version of the GMT Master. And what's interesting about the price of this watch is that at a retail price of $11,250, but a market price today of $21,800. This has a value retention of 94% over retail, which for all of the watches in production on this list is the highest number. But over the last year, it's also shed 40.8% of its secondary market value, which means it's also the watch that has performed the worst over the last year. And I think that really is not just sort of reflective of the declining trend in the overall market over that time period, but also specifically for this watch arriving on the market as a hype watch and then starting to see the same sort of decline in value as more inventory becomes available on the market. As I just described for the Explorer 40mm version, this watch again has seen the single largest decline in value over the last year of any of the watches in this view. The next one is the standard classic GMT Master II, the 126710 BLRO, which retails for $10,900 on the Jubilee bracelet and goes on the secondary market for $19,300, which is 77% over retail. Now, for this watch, and actually for the next one, which is the Batgirl, we do have data available separately on the website for the Jubilee bracelet and the Oyster bracelet versions, but here I'm just talking about the overall model. But if you are interested in seeing what those deltas look like for those specific variations, that data is available, and I would invite you to check it out for yourself, again, at WatchCharts.com. But the 126710 BLRO is going to trade 77% above retail, which puts it in the S tier. And the Batgirl trades at $16,700, which is, again, against a retail price of $10,900, 53% above that retail level. And now we come into the two-tone and the precious metal versions of the GMT Master. First, the new for 2023 126713 GRNR. This retails for $16,450 and trades for $23,000, which is 40% above retail. That places it in the A tier. And the root beer, the 126711 CHNR, retails for $16,150, but trades for $20,100, which is 24% above retail. The full rose gold GMT Master II 126715 CHNR, which retails for $40,600, trades just above that, just 1% above that at $41,000, which is just good enough for the B tier. Again, this watch is still trading at its retail value, but relative to the other watches on this list is not doing as well. And then lastly, the white gold GMT Master II 126719 BLRO with the meteorite dial and with the plain blue dial. The meteorite dial retails for $42,900 and trades for $56,800, which is 32% above retail. And then the blue dial variation of this watch actually trades at $40,000, which is just 1% below retail. And so the white gold variations, actually, depending on which dial you're referring to, have quite different market performances. I think certainly with as far as we've gotten in this view, it's interesting to see that in the S tier, the only watches that have ended up in that tier are from the GMT Master or the Daytona family. And it'll be interesting to see once we include the watches from part 2, what else can enter that sort of elevated tier of value retention. But until part 2 comes out, let us know in the comments if there are any other watches that you would like us to feature in tier lists, or if you have any other questions about the professional watches from Rolex. Thanks for listening.